Troopers and grinders, welcome to a desert in Southern California where me, Hank the Tank, and my main man to my left, the Idaho Skatesman, are just passing through on a little summer getaway. And I'm sure nothing painful or traumatizing could possibly happen. Wait, skatesman, stop the skateboard. Stop your skateboard. There's something on the side of the road. God, looks like an alligator lizard. Oh, wait, I think it might be a hitchhiker. Oh, God. Drive, skatesman, drive! I mean, ride! What is that? Oh, wait. It's just, Virna Jandiroba. I don't know if that's better or worse, honestly. And, fighting Amanda Lemos in the Apex. What a treat! Oh, and, also another degenerate influencer boxing card is happening right afterwards against a guy shorter and with less weight who hasn't had a regular boxing match in almost a decade. How exciting is this fight weekend looking, skating? And I mean, come on. You gotta agree with me here. It's great.
Yeah, it's a weekend of fights, and we're here for it. We're here to cover it, give you guys a preview and picks. Good to see Hockey from Home up in the building. She says she's in California. She wants to meet up with you, Hank.
Oh, that's great. Well, maybe you'll meet me in the desert. Just be careful because while we're going through the trailer, there might be some people up in the hills, you know, who will try to attack us at any moment. Hockey from Home, and honestly, I couldn't tell you from one of those. I couldn't discern you from one of those hill people. Hockey from Home, so you got to bear with me here. But yeah, I would love to meet up Hockey from Home as long as I don't give you my address and we can meet online. That'd be great. But first, let's go through some of my locks that I have for the weekend. And oh boy, I got quite a few locks this time around. Not only are there way too many boxing and MMA promotions going on at the same time on Saturday, but I found a card. That doesn't have one lock, doesn't have two locks, but I think like 7 or 8 locks I got for that one, and that's just fucking crazy, but it goes to show the amount of squash matches that Cage Warriors puts on. And I'm not complaining, because I love seeing people get finishes. I like them more than fights, as controversial as that take may be. But yeah, there's a lot of talented people destroying untalented people in Cage Warriors, and can't get enough of it, I'll be honest with you, Idaho. It's like an obsession. It's a fetish for me. So I'll go through all the squash matches for Cage Warriors.
Fetish?
And that'll be a lot of fun. Quentin Tarantino kind of stuff. I have my fascinations. I have my interests. My studies,
Fair
my
enough.
hobbies.
Just as long as it's not any Marcellus Wallace type of fetishes, I think we'll be all right.
Does he look like a bitch, Idaho? I said, does he look like a bitch? What are we talking about here, Skatesman? What are we talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Yo, what's up, Euphoric Notes? Good to see you, my friend.
Hey,
I actually just realized that your profile picture is a goose. So,
wow,
you be my eyes, goose.
Yeah, I knew he was a silly goose from the very start. What a guy.
Good man.
Yeah, here we go. All right, so I've shared my first lock for the weekend. Let's pull that one up. We got good old Junto Nakatani. That'll be the first major event for Saturday. And I'm picking Nakatani. He seems like the most obvious lock for this one. Just beating a lot of really good boxers with that don't have padded records, while Astrolabio has been beating like 5-5 guys, like guys who have only had 10 wins in their career and just a bunch of bumps along the way. It seems like Nakatani's journey to the top has been a lot harder than Vincent Astrolabio's. And, we get this in Japan for a lot of these main events. A very tough guy from Latin America facing Japanese boxer who's going to deal with the early rounds and then bounce back and knock him out later on. I don't think Nakatani is exactly an Inoue type, not even close, but he is dominant in there, and I really like his timing and as well as his technique. So I feel like he's going to get through the early rounds and just start beating the brakes off of Astrolabio and picking him apart everywhere that he can. So I don't know. This seems like a pretty easy one to me. And Nakatani's just gotten started with the world bantamweight title at WBC. I doubt that he loses it now. And Astrolabio has already had like 4 or 5 losses in his career, so he'd probably lose to Nakatani in my opinion. Any thoughts on that fight or event? Have you heard anything about it yet?
I know it's the main event of that card, but yeah, I mean, I largely agree with you.
I'm gonna take that as a no.
Well, I mean, most boxing matches.
But what are you interested in, by the way? I think.
What's that? You're kind of cutting out. But to answer your question, skateboarding. But yeah, it looks like Henry is on mute.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second, brother. Tell me about a next thing. Bear with me for 1 second. So next we got Octagon 59 Summer Party, and I'm gonna show you what kind of party they got going on over in the Octagon. There was another Octagon card recently that had the C, not the K. That was the promotion I showed you that had the one guy who got kneed in the face shooting in for a takedown, which was absolutely brutal. But that happened recently. I think No Chill attended that show, so we have more to say about it. But now we got the Octagon with the K, which is usually my worst nightmare when it comes to picks because my locks almost always fail in that promotion. But I think I gotta hold on this one. I think this guy's gonna win pretty clear and not ruin my hopes and dreams. So hold on, let me present to you the man, the myth, the legend. Pause for dramatic effect. Keep pausing for. Honestly, I might be pausing right now. It's not even for.
What's up, Bad MMA Math? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Glad
you're here, man. Here we go. Ivan Boot. Oh, the I've been telling him all about our show, and he's enjoying what he's seen so far, including our videos. But this is the first stream he's attending live. Good to see you, Bad MMA Math. You're a Chad, man. You're a true legend. So keep up the good work, buddy. You seem like a likable guy, Bad MMA Math. He's a good friend of mine. But now we got Ivan Buchinger. He has been getting nothing but round 2 KOs. Last 3 fights, he's finished them all the same way, kind of like Steve Garcia, who I'm going to be talking about later on in the show. But yeah, Buchinger, he's going against an absolute can and Lukas Rajewski. So I feel like this is going to be a lot of the same. Usually that ends up not being what happens, and he usually ends up winning. With all these prospects that I pick by a specific round and a specific finish, they usually end up going to a decision. So I might eat my own words here, but it's a regional promotion. So I mean, what should you expect?
Anything could happen.
Yeah, exactly. It really is a brilliant prediction by me, very unorthodox and creative. But yeah, that's Octagon. What is your history with Octagon, Idaho? What's your favorite Octagon show?
I mean, I've seen a few when I had a DAZN subscription, so they always put on a solid show. I'll say that much. But as far as a specific event, couldn't tell you.
Yeah, my favorite will always be the one with Najand, the guy from Afghanistan who was fighting, and then I was watching it live with the City Life Project, and it was just spamming nothing but Arabic in the chat, rooting for Najand, waiting for when Najand was going to be there.
Like,
and usually I find them very annoying.
All right, well, it looks like Hank, his Wi-Fi is cooked. So, yeah, I know he's going to want to talk about those locks when he comes back. But I just wanted to point out that the Iron Turtle versus Brad Tavares is canceled. But for some reason, Tapology still has it up. I'm not sure why. Some intern there needs to get on their shit. Looks like you're back. You got your locks for us?
Yes, I'm trying to pull up my next one. It's for KSW. That's another big show. I forget what his first name is, but I know what his last name is. It's Pollock, and I have Pollock by decision over 5 rounds. He's been pretty dominant as champion. He's faced the guy before. You see that a lot in KSW, where these guys have fought someone like 3 or 4 times already, but the size of the roster is so fucking small that Eve before this, I'm not sure. No, that was for Octagon. The guy who was supposed to be in the main event of Octagon was that Brazilian guy who was on the Saudi Arabia card, who pulled off the big upset on Naimov, and but he was supposed to be headline the Octagon show that's happening Saturday, but that ended up not happening. But it just goes to show how very fragile regional MMA promotions can be when the UFC comes a calling. They must be a fucking thorn in their side. But I got my next pick up for KSW 96. Give me 1 second. Okay, it's old Powell Palak. He's taking on Damian Janikowski II for the second time. And yeah, he beat his ass like 4 years ago. So I think he's just going to do a lot of the same. You know, these things aren't very hard to predict at times. Especially
and this is the main event of KSW.
Them before. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it is. Sad stuff, man.
But yeah, no, it's
it is what
the Iron Turtle is off the card. He had to pull out.
I think I've watched.
Yeah, Henry's internet, man, is cooked today.
Sorry about that. It's bad.
Bad MMA math says that he had the turtle in his parlay. Shit, dude. Hopefully they give you your bet back for that one.
Yeah,
that remains to be seen.
That's fine. There we go. Old Powell Pollock. Look at that very handsome boy. And Damian Janikowski.
His name is
just
Pollock?
an Olympic level wrestler. Oh. Yes, he is Pollock, and I think he has a couple polyps in certain areas as well. But that's not the case. Pollock. He's got the alliteration. Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty good nickname. Actually, it's Plastinho. What the hell does that even mean? He's plastic and he's a hoe. I don't know. But yeah, he's taking on this little Olympic grappler, and I feel like he's just going to beat his ass over 5 rounds. He's done the same before. He'll do it again. Although you never know, man. It could be a Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman kind of thing.
Sounds like a Marco Madsen situation. He says injury. I thought he was iron. I think he got sick or something. Like they said medical issue from what I heard. And like I said, Tapology usually is pretty good about having the bouts that have been canceled. But they don't have this one, so our pick will still be up for that. But yeah, that fight is not going to happen, unfortunately, because I really wanted to see the Iron Turtle get the dub over Brad Tavares.
There's still a few good fights on the card and a few guys who I expect to get finishes.
And by the way, you don't need to close out your screen every time. I can just switch back to this screen, and then you can keep it up, so you don't have to keep reloading it.
Sounds good. Sorry, I just gotta I got to get to, I think Cage Warriors is up next, and that's the big one with the locks. And then we can move on to UFC and finally get on to Jake Paul versus Mike Perry and finish that up. But yeah, I got a lot of locks so far because they're just giving me a lot of material, you know. Jesus Christ, I'm just looking at the list that I got for these locks. Yeah, I don't think it's in the double digits. It might just be in the double digits. Cage Warriors 174. I remember I watched the Harry Hardwick card for Cage Warriors, and that was honestly one of my favorite Cage Warriors cards I've seen yet. And honestly, I think one of the best MMA shows of the year. There were just nothing but finishes on that one. Bunch of rear naked chokes, bunch of knockouts, and the UK fans got to celebrate another Hardwick winning. So I mean, this is the reason why I love regional MMA, because once in a while it'll give you something that's better than what UFC's produced in the last 4 months, you know?
Yeah, I can't wait for Contender Series to start back up. Let's go on to my
predictions. Here we go. Exactly. Actually, what's sort of ironic about that is that it's probably going to be bad for regional MMA during that time, because a bunch of the people that they scooped up are now going to be in the UFC and not fighting on review as we saw before. But hopefully they can recover from that by the time the year wraps up and get some new big talent.
So Vahitov has actually already
I got it all loaded up.
Vahitov has already had
so
some
I got
MMA
6
fights.
locks.
And I think that they'll probably run his career just like Pereira. But Pereira did get subbed in one of his early MMA fights. So, but yeah, Artem's already had a few. And dude's an animal. I mean, I watched a few of his fights in Glory and expect him to do good things for sure.
All right. First lock I got on the card is Jordan Vucenic. It's this Cage Warriors biggest champions booked in the fucking opening fight of the card, but this one's stacked from top to bottom. I don't know if they're in San Diego or not, but this one's it almost feels like an anniversary show. There are like fucking 20-25 fights on this card, which is crazy. So
what is this? What is this? A Rise kickboxing event?
Yeah, I know. I'd hope so, but we're probably going to get some weirder results with this one. So with Jordan Vucenic, he just taps out everybody they throw his way, whether it's in the first round or the second round. He usually gets them out of there relatively quickly. He is a big prospect, and I honestly think he should be already on the Contender Series by now. But maybe UFC and Cage Warriors made an agreement that Vucenic has to have a few more fights and get Cage Warriors a little bit more money before he can go over. But in the meantime, they fed him this all right fighter, Adrian Kepa. I think he won his last fight, but it doesn't matter because Vucenic just handles them all the same. So I think he's the best that England has to offer right now, and I think he's going to get a round 2 submission. An exciting start to the card. And then we have Jimmy Quinn versus Imad Bouamori. This is an example of just a big power puncher who's facing a guy who's lost all of his fights by first round knockout. So I feel like this is just going to be a lot of the same. Again, there are these patterns that Cage Warriors fighters start to develop over time with how they're ending their fights, and I just feel like this is going to be a lot of the same. It seems to me like Bouamori is a real can, and he's been finished next way to Sunday by like several different methods, so I think it's not going to be any different here. Then we got Camilla Bergstrom versus Amar Darcy. I got Darcy by decision. I think Camilla Bergstrom lost to like a 0-0 fighter, so that's quite embarrassing. And like I've made this joke before, like anyone with a pulse beats this fighter. And Amar Darcy just so happens to be 1-0. She had a pretty dominant performance in her last one. I think she got a finish, but for this one, I'm trusting it to be a decision since it's a women's fight. But it is regional women's fighters, so you never fucking know with that shit. Then you scroll up a little bit, and we got Alessandro Giordano versus Michelle Martignoni. I'm pretty sure Martignoni recently lost a championship fight at Cage Warriors, but he still made that a close decision, and then he beat the follow-up opponent after the fact, whereas Giordano seems to be on a downward spiral in his career, and he's losing to absolute scrubs at the moment. So I think this should be a layup for Martignoni. I really like the way that he fights. He's very technical, especially for a fucking Italian fighter. Like in Cage Warriors, the Italian fighters lose almost every single time. Usually those guys end up being at the receiving end of my blocks to lose against English fighters. But Martignoni is definitely the exception. Like he's still a contender in Cage Warriors, so I got him by decision. And we got Giacomo Michelis versus Mush Aslani. Let me take a look at these guys' records real quick. In the meantime, are there any new comments in the chat, Idaho?
Yeah, Bad MMA Math says it's a shame they don't have the marketing budget. This would wash the weekend's dank UFC card if people knew about it.
Yeah, so it's nice. Well, Bad MMA Math he may not be very good at math or MMA math, but he does have knowledge when it comes to what fights are going to be on. He knows the inner politics of the thing. So with Mush Aslani, he is on a 2-fight skid. Lost to a 4-0 opponent, lost to a 4-1 opponent. His last win came against a 1-0 opponent, but then he lost that fight before that to a 5-6 by knockout. Ugh, fucking disgusting, man. Whereas Giacomo Michelis, he's on a 2-fight winning streak against a 2-1 and a 2-0 guy. So I trust him to take down a guy who can't even keep an even record. It's pretty easy enough. And then we got my last lock for the evening. We got Riri Hudson against Trioro. You want to know what Trioro's record is, Idaho?
3-6.
Nope. It's actually 1-4. She did have her one win was her last win, but it was a split decision against a 0-1 opponent. Ugh, just awful. And then she lost to a 1-2, lost to a 1-1. She's just losing or having split.
But we need these fighters in the MMA ecosystem, you know?
Exactly, especially in Cage Warriors. You got to have some fun finishes in Cage Warriors. Whereas Riri Hudson is 3-0. She did have finishes in her first couple fights, but she went to a decision against a 2-3 opponent. So actually, never mind. I picked her by round 2 KO, so that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to trust in the women, especially the regional women, to find the finish and somehow make this garbage heap exciting.
Well, that's your first mistake, is trusting in the women. But
you can't trust the woman, Edith.
Sounds like that's all your locks for the weekend?
Yeah. Well, yes, it is. We can move on to the UFC.
Well, like I said, this fight is off the card. I was going to pick Iron Turtle to get a knockout, but unfortunately, this fight's not happening. That'd be cool if they brought it back, but I think this one's pretty much dead as a doornail.
I think it's toast as well.
I
actually had Brad Tavares by decision.
Interesting.
Just because I thought that Tavares has relatively good takedown defense. His takedown defense is very, very underrated. He was able to show it off against Chris Weidman during their fight. And I thought if Park wasn't able to complete it,
that's amazing. Wash Chris
for 3 rounds.
Wow.
I know. Well, I mean, he wasn't that washed when you look at the Silva fight.
He was.
A little bit of magic in him. As much as I love the Iron Turtle, I do enjoy his fights, but I just think that his takedowns and his submissions are his main weapon. I just thought that Tavares would able to neutralize that one. I am sad that it's Iron Turtle who got the medical issue. I wish it had been Tavares, because fuck Tavares. But yeah,
interesting.
Well, we can move on to the UFC card, because Idaho and I got our picks for this one. And I have a feeling it's going to be real heated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hopefully I do better than I did last week. Last week was my worst week of all time. But we got the first fight. It's Muhammad Usman versus Thomas Peterson. The train Peterson versus the motor Usman. Interesting. I got Usman here by decision. Would like to see a knockout either way. I just think, both of these guys have some power. It's heavyweight. Anything could really happen, but I think heavyweight over is the way to go on this particular match. I think that Usman is the more athletic of the two. And one thing I've learned is if you think one person's a little more athletic, you should probably go with them in a close matchup. So that'll be my
especially at heavyweight pick. Yeah. Especially at heavyweight, when you got athletes, it's like a huge quality difference between those two. Like, just look at your Tommy Aspinalls and your Curtis Blades. All those fucking Gazievs at the bottom. Just night and day, Give me 1 second. I got the screen. I just need to pull it up. I know it's complete fucking amateur hour this
After
time.
All that,
I had to make the Jandiroba joke, you guys. I had to change the layout a little bit in order to get that little zing. Oh boy,
what's going on?
Come on, No Chill. Okay, so at least it's not fucking busted, because No Chill had a problem with his camera.
Oh, okay.
He was actually going to do a collaboration with me today. Where we were going to break down the best prospects in the UFC.
And Tank's internet is so bad he's just stepping all over everything I say. So, and now we can't hear him. Oh, here we go. Where you at, buddy?
Am I good?
I can hear you.
All right. So, I got good old Mohammed from Nebraska, Usman, by decision. Let me move my mouse a little bit. Yeah. Jesus Christ Almighty.
Struggling here.
So yeah, with Mo Usman, I sort of agree with your sentiments. He's the way more athletic guy of the two of them. I hate his striking, but he'll definitely out Thomas Peterson. Hello?
Yeah, you're barely there, but we got you.
We good?
We're hanging on by a thread.
Oh God. I know. Lost to Mick Parkin up a lot when Mick was throwing heat at you. If anything, he was parking your ass. He looked more like Mo from the Three Stooges than Muhammad Ali. With all that being said, I think Muhammad Usman beats the crap out of Thomas Peterson. He's small and too fat for heavyweight, certainly smaller and fatter than chiseled physique Muhammad Usman. And he somehow lost to Jamal Pogues in his UFC debut. So this guy's a scrub in the making, in my opinion.
I mean, honestly, like as much as I hate Jamal Pogues, the guy has decent technical boxing. So I've picked against Jamal Pogues in every fight, but
it's true.
I mean, the guy keeps on winning. So
yeah, but don't worry. Eventually, he'll be fraud checked like C-Rod did, and then everything will be as right as rain.
Fraud checked, though. I don't think fraud check is the right term, but sure.
All right. Well, when Idaho Skatesman is able to find a new term for the Urban Dictionary, I'm sure we can get back to that point.
I mean, losing a fight in the UFC and fraud checking is not the same thing.
That's true. It is a high caliber talent. Not always though. It depends on the division that you're in. Like especially at heavyweight.
Less of a reason to call every single person that gets their first loss like fraud checked.
Because they're all frauds?
I mean, you just said that, there's high-level competition, but not always. So I just think fraud checked is a way overused term, and it's pretty annoying. But, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Well, I'll consider that one to scratch off the list, okay? I got my Lucas Tracy list of terms.
Bad MMA Matt says they should have a fish on a pole ready in case these boys lose motivation in the middle of the fight. Maybe a Twinkie. But yeah, I like that.
Definitely not a carrot on a stick.
No, because they won't go after that. Next fight is Luana Carolina versus Lucie Pudilová. I've been picking against Luana Carolina a lot ever since she got spinning back fist by Molly the Can. But I got her in this one. I think she's gonna get it done. I think this will probably be a close one, maybe even splitty city. Also, keep in mind that this one's in the Apex, if you didn't already know that already. So I think that the boring nature of the fight can create some strange judging. But yeah, not much really for me to break down on this one. What say you, my friend?
So I got Luana Carolina by round 3 submission. The only thing I'm concerned about with this matchup is that it's taking place at women's bantamweight, and Luana Carolina has been a flyweight a majority of her UFC career, meaning Lucie Pudilová will have a size and likely strength advantage over her. However, I think Lucie Pudilová is generally awful everywhere. She
was on a 2-fight losing streak.
Yes, she was. She's getting beat by better grapplers and beat up by better strikers. And on top of that, she's fighting out of Ireland.
Actually, this Tapology does say it's a 125-pound match.
They switched it back to okay, great. They said it was bantamweight.
And again, and keep in mind that they did also say that a fight is canceled, and they didn't put it on here. So I actually have no idea. I'm just going off of what is on my screen.
Yeah, you can't fucking trust Tapology. You can trust it as far as you can fucking throw every single person who works there. So she may be from the Czech Republic, but I don't think she's a samurai like Yuri. She's definitely not skilled or honorable enough to beat a Brazilian woman who has way better grappling than her and has stuffed the takedowns of Lupe Godinez. Even with the weight advantage, she has no wrestling threats against a woman who can out-scramble and even submit her opponents as a female fighter. She'll probably piece up Carolina too, since she stinks on the feet, and once she gets her opponent down with her shorter frame, Luana will eventually be able to get her back or her arm and tap her right out. So weight difference, nothing. Pudilová stinks. I have Luana Carolina by third round submission.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, Matua on that thing.
So he agrees with us. He goes Luana, and she's the underdog. Ooh.
Nice.
First fights, bet the underdog. I don't know about that, but
I don't know about that.
We'll see, but we'll see.
Listen to what I'm saying, Matua. I had the first 5 fights of the last UFC card. All of them were favorites, and all of them won. So I'd chuck that argument out the window. Sorry.
So our next fight is Loik Radzhabov versus Trey Ogden. I'm not too familiar with Trey Ogden. I know I've seen his fights before. He is 17-6. Loik is 18-5-1. Interesting. I mean, obviously, like Loik, the way he's going to get this one done, if he does, is due to his grappling. But as you do see here, he did get a knockout just 4 months ago against a man named Abdul Karim Al Sawadi.
Yeah, not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
But at 155, it's the deepest division, deepest for prospects, deepest for talent. So, anything could happen. But I think that he can grind this one out, get a decision win. Though I'm not counting Trey Ogden out entirely. That's sort of why I have a decision up there. But not entirely sure on this one. But let's see what Hank the Tank.
Hey, Matua actually makes a good point. You should check out it recent.
Yeah, he says there's cats on this card that haven't won in 8 years and haven't won in 10 years. Well, interesting.
Yeah, like
one of them is Duho Choi.
Yep, Korean Superboy. And
is he Superboy though, or is he? Anyway,
yeah,
we'll get to that.
Well, he's super middle aged at this point. I'll say that. For then we got I think I have Loik Radzhabov by round 3 KO. I really value Radzhabov's knockout of Al Sawadi after what that guy did to George Hardwick, and his decision win over Esteban Rivovic has aged well too. His loss to Rebecca may look bad now, but that Polish wrestler is a tough nut to crack. No diddy, especially in the first couple rounds. So Radzhabov's a solid fighter. Ogden, meanwhile, is a very hit or miss fighter. His losses to Bahamondes, Levitt, and spiritually Mata as well aren't great. The reason why I say spiritually is because Mata had like a no contest based on referee bullshit. And tough competitor Kurt Hollabog isn't exactly the most prestigious of wins for Trey Ogden either. Who was his most recent win? He may turn it on again
on the card.
Yes, and again, the scheduling of it works. He may turn it on against Radzhabov, but I have faith that Radzhabov can grit his way through the last 2 rounds to win them, or even finish Ogden in the 3rd round like he did with Al Sawadi. He's called the Tajik Tank for a reason. Skate Tank Army, stand up! I got to support a fellow Tank Idaho. Ogden's too inconsistent for me to pick him, and if he doesn't dominate the first 2 rounds, I see Radzhabov turning him into a samurai ghost, which happens to be his nickname as well. So give me Jerry Loik Hoiven by round 3 KO.
All right, our next fight is Miranda Maverick versus Dione Barbosa. This is at flyweight. Miranda Maverick 13-5. Dione the Witch Barbosa 7-2. Mm-hmm. By the way, I think Miranda Maverick has like one of the worst nicknames in MMA. Miranda Fear the Maverick. Mm-hmm. As you see here, Dione Barbosa is on a 4-fight win streak, which, again, like momentum, it counts in MMA. Her last fight against Ernesta Karakati, I thought was like way too close, and she did end up getting the decision. On the flip side, Miranda Maverick was a pretty touted prospect, and she just like fell short in a few fights. One of which, her most recent loss, was against Jazz Devicius. I really thought she had that one in the bag. It's kind of surprising to see her not be able to implement her game plan. But I think, with Dione being like the slightly older woman, which again, in MMA, women kind of age a little slower than men do. But yeah, man, I'm not done. I'm not done riding with Miranda Maverick. She's on a 2-fight win streak. I think that she'll hopefully be able to physical Dione. And again, I'm not really like too familiar with Dione's game. She's only had one fight in the UFC. But yeah, I'm riding Miranda Maverick, man. I'm not done on the Maverick train.
Matua has some interest.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the comments as you say. But yeah, he says Barbosa can edge this win and can edge me. Oh, well, there you go.
We'd all take it. We'd all take that offer.
The card stinks like greasy food, but maybe a money card if you bet on the fights. Yeah. I mean, I'd advise you not to bet on MMA, but hey, you know what? Some people have been more successful for me.
I'd say it smells more like sulfur on the side of the road or a dead corpse. Either way, it's pretty bad. Here I got Miranda Maverick, same as you. Fear the Maverick. Dione Barbosa was given a robbery decision win over Ernesta Caracade, an okay striker, and completely gassed out in that fight despite it being sort of a layup for her. Still getting the victory because she was Brazilian, and the game is rigged. It's not because she's a witch, as her nickname suggests. She didn't use black magic, as Yuri would, I think, accuse her of. Barbosa's not getting that same treatment against Miranda Maverick, who's fighting in the neutral, empty-ass apex with judges that must be bored out of their minds, so they won't be swayed by any outside forces when it's so small a show. That means that Miranda dominates Barbosa in the striking, stuffs her takedowns, and makes her look like an amateur in there. There's going to be no outside factors to take her win away from her, and that's exactly what's happening. I think Miranda's better almost everywhere compared to Barbosa, and I've never seen her gas out, so this should be a pretty much easy street for her over 3 rounds. Fear the Maverick. I went to the danger zone. Nice. I got a need for speed. Ow! All
right, next one is Brian Kelleher versus Cody Gibson at 135. Brian Boom Kelleher is 24-15, just a vet of the game. Same with Cody Gibson, 19-10. Both men on losing streaks. Brian's is 3 losses. Cody's is 2. Brian's last win was against Kevin Kroom. Before that was Domingo Perlardi. And Cody Gibson's last win was against Francisco Rivera Jr. in UNF.
That's a fighter?
Before that, it was against John Dobson in XMMA nearly 3 years ago. This is a pretty greasy fight here. If you were going to bet, I would not bet on this one here. I do have Cody Gibson by decision, but mainly it's because of Brian Kelleher's really invasive neck surgery he had to go through. I actually like Brian Kelleher, to be fair. I think he's sort of an undersized bantamweight. It was kind of weird seeing Garbrandt in there with him because like Garbrandt was like bigger than him. It was kind of surprising.
He's tall, yeah.
But I think that Cody Gibson will be able to have the better like outside kickboxing game. He's not like the most dangerous opponent. So as much as like Brian Kelleher gets shit on, he does have some power in his hands. I think he will be able to be the one that is able to get the knockout. But at 135, these two washed fighters, I mean, and I say that because they're 37 and 36 respectively. But if you look here, 5'6", Brian Kelleher, 5'10", Cody Gibson. Give me Cody Gibson to win by decision. Though, again, I don't count out Brian Kelleher as much as a lot of people may. And I understand the hate that he's getting because he is on a 3-fight losing streak. And he just hasn't looked like himself in years. So
we got a raid on our hands, boys.
Yeah, what's going on?
They're
Paradox secured another raid. Hey, man, we really appreciate your support, man. And Merry Chadmas to you.
Chadmas lives up to his name for sure.
Matua has Kelleher himself. That's what's up. He says it might be a brawl. I would love to see that. He has Kelleher by TKO. Let's go.
I honestly think Matua Sablin might just be MMA experts in disguise because she's choosing all the underdogs for this one, which is respectable. Once in a while, you get a Perez versus Tyra, and it's just underdog city. So usually it's just one or the other. So you got to flip a coin eventually. With this one, I also, great minds think alike, Idaho. I've got Cody Gibson as well by decision. Both these guys suck. I'm going to get that out of the way first off. One of them's on a 3-fight skid, and the other one isn't too far away from it. The difference is one of them has a major height advantage and has looked better on the feet as of his last couple fights in Cody Gibson. He may look like a dumbass and fight like a dumbass, but he was able to take the back of Miles Johns and even land some good shots on him, which has aged well given his recent domination of Douglas Silva de Andrade. Brian Kelleher, meanwhile, is neither a threat on the feet or the ground, aside from a guillotine like Julian Erosa's recently, which I still won't have faith in despite
which he's actually named the Boomatine, by the way.
The Boomatine? Like Poontang Pie?
Well, I mean, there's the McKeotine, you know.
I see.
Yeah, so his guillotine is nicknamed the Boomatine.
Well, we got to have a Juicy Teen in there for Juicy J one of these days. I still won't have faith in the guillotine, despite that whole tapping out the evil Christian Rodriguez, because Kelleher has the anorexic physical frame of Christian Bale in The Machinist, if you've ever seen that movie.
Wow, that is a interesting reference.
And would never in a million years overpower well-rounded wrestler Cody Gibson or snatch anything on him. For his nickname being Boom, Kelleher's striking power is more like a because he can't put anybody away, and it's showed. Gibson, meanwhile, still has some sting in his shots and can easily outstrike Brian Kelleher on the feet and take him down whenever he's in trouble for the unanimous decision win. Brian K is getting beat up by another, even worse Cody in the UFC. I think he might be in hell at this point, or at the very least in limbo.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting notes there, my friend. By the way, shout out to your Euphoric Notes. Always just cracking me up in the comments, whether it's on Rush Hour or here. And I appreciate all you guys being here, man. Our next fight is Hyder Amil versus Yong Lee. We'll just say Lee. So Hyder Amil, let's see. Let's check this out. Hyder Amil is 9-0, and Jeong is 11-1. Interesting that Hyder Amil is 9-0, being 34 at featherweight. Super weird to me. And actually, honestly, suspect, if you ask me. I am picking him in this fight, but I don't know. You know, Lee made it through the Road to UFC tournament.
Right.
Shout out to him because that's always a banger, full of scraps. And by the way, what is up, Sean? Good to see you, my friend. But I don't know, man. He showed me some good things in his last fight with that knockout against Fernie Garcia. On the flip, Lee, and again, I think this will be a pretty closely contested contest.
I agree.
And that's why I'm picking Hyder Amil to edge it, though I do think that there is a good case to be made for Lee in this one. But like I said, the 34-year-old featherweight prospect of Hyder Amil, don't see his chances of really moving up the ranks to be super high. But I do like that he doesn't have a lot of fights, and he's 34, which means he hasn't accrued a lot of damage. What say you, my friend? I bet you're picking Lee.
Yeah, I got Lee. I got Lee by a round 2 submission, actually, to finish.
See what the notes are going to be on this one.
This is going to be a fun matchup for me because I love both these guys and their fighting techniques and matchups in the UFC so far. They've been super entertaining. However, I think one of them has way more potential than the other, and I think that's Young Lee.
That's a really fair point.
He's beaten every opponent in Asia and the US sent his way.
He does have one loss. But...
Yes. Well, I'm gonna mention that, including the one guy he lost to. He actually won the rematch against that guy who beat him. He rematched him and he beat him in the second fight. He has slick grappling, quick hands, and fantastic technique overall. And on top of that, he has a height, reach, and even age advantage over the 35-year-old Hyder Amil. Though I like the guy, and I think he's solid all around as well, Amil has come to very close decisions, and his knockout of Fernie Garcia isn't that productive of a win when you're past your physical prime and need a quick road to the title. Lee, meanwhile, is only 27, not even in his prime yet, and has had a way harder literal road to the UFC than Hyder Amil, fighting 3 of the top Asian prospects in MMA to even get a contract. I feel that with his greater experience, Amil's only had 9 fights in MMA, and every physical advantage you can ask for, Lee will dominate at least the first 2 rounds of the fight, and I think even drop Amil with his well-timed, surprisingly powerful strikes, and then lock in a submission to put away the aged contender in round 2. Korean Tigers feasting on Amil in his cage.
Nice. Yeah, and I mean, you messed up the age there. He's 28.
Yeah.
Hyder's 34. I mean, we're splitting hairs, but
right.
I'll just say, like, the road to UFC is not really the best prospect series, if you ask me. But that remains to be seen. I think that that's good analysis, and I don't count out Lee. I'm going with the underdog here. Our next fight is Duho Choi versus Bill Algeo. The Korean Superboy is back. Wait. He's 33? Korean and he hasn't had a win in when? 8 whole damn years.
He's a late bloomer, Idaho. He's a late bloomer.
He came back with that banger of a fight with Cub Swanson, which he lost. Then Jeremy I mean, the UFC really messed up by giving him that hell of a fight with Swanson and then putting him in there with Jeremy Stevens, which he still had a lot of life in him at this point, getting knocked out. And then Charles Jourdain knocked him out too on his way up. Then he came back a year ago against Kyle Nelson, which is actually the last man to beat Bill Algeo 3 months ago. Now, this is a tricky fight here because if Duho Choi is to win, it'll be in the first round. It'll be probably within the first 3 minutes of the fight. And Bill Algeo getting knocked out just 3 months ago is pretty suspect. You know, I never like when fighters come back less than 6 months in after a knockout. And yes, Matua, thank you for mentioning the fact that he did have to take the mandatory military service in Korea. And that's a big part of why I always kind of fade the Koreans a little more. I know it's kind of fucked up, but hey, it is what it is.
It's not like it's not based in truth.
But I think the more likely outcome, if Bill Algeo makes it out of the first, is he gets the decision win. The kid has slick grappling, not the best striking in the world, but he does have the submission win against TJ Brown, and he does have a knockout of Herbert Burns, which I remember this fight. I remember this fight very well. That was actually Herbert Burns' last time in the octagon, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that it says a knockout, but that wasn't a knockout. He just didn't get up because he was totally exhausted. And it says it right there, knockout due to TKO due to exhaustion. Yeah, I mean, again, it would be a nice narrative if Duho Choi was able to get a knockout here. And I think they're sort of setting him up a little bit for that. Now I'm kind of starting to see a pattern of they're trying to set these Korean guys up for wins. So maybe I should rethink a few of my picks. But I'm fading the Koreans, and I'm picking Bill Algeo to get this one done via decision. Possible submission in the later rounds. But, yeah, give me Bill Algeo. I think he's the safer pick here.
I got Bill Algeo by decision as well. I feel like Bill Algeo likely has quicker and more technical striking than Duho Choi, given Choi's extensive periods of inactivity he's had for years now, and the great back-and-forth clash he had with Kyle Nelson before that lame-ass stoppage from the Jesse on Fire imp, Gary Copeland. Even though he lost, making him not Senor Perfecto. Again, stop assigning wrestling names to yourselves, MMA fighters. You know Skatesman hates that. He hates wrestling. So don't even mention wrestling nicknames. The quickness and timing he showed in that war was still very excellent, in my opinion. It was a back-and-forth war with Kyle Nelson. He tagged him with a few big shots on occasions. Well, I think this Korean Superboy is mostly looking for that big Superman punch, not this kind, but just like punches in general in his fights. And when he can't get it, he's on the receiving end of punishment for most of the fight. Yes, he had a very close fight with the guy who beat Bill Algeo by finish and could have won if it wasn't for that accidental head clash. That Kyle Nelson is different from today's Kyle Nelson. So the quality of that performance still doesn't impress me enough to pick Duho Choi against a guy who I think can smoothly outstrike and outgrapple him if he wants to. It's a new versus old generation style of fight, and I'll go with the guy who's fought recently over the guy who never has, if you know what I mean. Bill Algeo picks Superboy apart at range and gets control time again when he wants, and I think that will help him edge out the victory. A jagged piece of kryptonite for the Superboy to fall to. It's doomsday for our hero, or Superboy.
Next fight is Cody Durden versus Bruno Silva. Not to be mistaken with the middleweight Bruno Silva. This is at 125. one of the thinnest divisions in MMA, by the way. Cody Durden to 16-5-1. Bruno Silva is 13-5-2. All my degenerate gamblers, pick the draw. Pick the draw. If there is a draw on somebody's record, they're more likely to get another one. It's just another little tidbit of MMA math for you there. Cody Durden lost his last fight to Tagir Ulanbekov. Before that, he was on a hell of a streak. Before that, I think before that he got kneed. He was the guy that got kneed by Mokaev. Both these guys have JP buys as a victim on their record. And then Bruno Silva got a submission over Tyson Nam in his last fight, who was totally washed.
He was in Nam.
Again, I think that Cody Durden is not the greatest fighter, and neither is Bruno Silva. I think the guy with more potential is probably Bruno Silva, though both these guys are a little past their prime at flyweight. I just think that, I don't know. I honestly have no idea how this fight's going to go. But, I'm trusting in the American Cody Durden to get this one done.
America! Fuck yeah!
My buddy notes. He says he likes this fight. Yeah, man. Always getting good flyweight fights, seems, these days. What say you, my friend?
I mean, it's usually fun when Bruno Silva has his fights. And I'm not talking about middleweight Bruno Silva. I'm talking about flyweight Bruno Silva. I really like the variety of his striking. And he's a hell of a prospect. But just the problem is he's dealing with Cody Durden, who just has a very, like, copy and paste kind of. I shoot on you, and I get the takedown, and then I hold you down.
No Diddy?
No Jones. I think I'm going with the no Jones on that one.
Got it.
Okay. With the Cody Durden fight, you know what you're going to get. Cody will likely be taller, and like Merab, he's going to keep shooting his takedowns until he gets them, in which case he will grind his way out to a dominant decision win on top. I don't think that changes against Bruno Silva, who, as fantastic as he is on the feet, hasn't fought for quite a while now and has been plagued with injuries and canceled fights. Getting his this fight booked after a whole year of waiting. Durden's only ever lost to excellent grapplers like Tagir Ulanbekov, and as good as Silva is at submissions at times, that stocky frame will not help him in taking down Durden one bit. So this will likely just be a stand-up effort for Silva, which Durden will counter through getting Silva down to the mat and using feints, I think, to set up good striking as well as wrestling counters. Durden has a lot of advantages here, and as on fire as Silva's been as of late, his inactivity and his injuries are sort of worrying. And the more fresh Durden should be able to dominate in the wrestling against an opponent who is the size of his nickname, Bulldog, and too small to successfully neutralize every one of Durden's takedowns. Now, if Durden was dealing with flyweight Bruno Silva's lab specimen brother twice removed, middleweight Bruno Silva, he would have a problem on his hands, but thankfully he's not, so this should be easy work. Durden by dominant decision, I think.
Yeah, and what's up, Western Mass? Good to see you. Longtime supporter of the channel. Says Musical MMA Raid. Well, thank you, Musical MMA. We appreciate you. And I didn't know this before, but you said that he was a lot bigger. He's got 3 inches on him in height, only 1 inch in reach. But Cody Durden, that is over Bruno Silva. Mm-hmm. But we move on to our next fight. It is Kurt Holloway versus Kenan Krzyzewski. Look at that smile on this man. Now, Kurt the Hurt Holloway, sorry, is 20-8. He's 37 years old at lightweight. On the other hand, Krzyzewski, no spring chicken himself, 33. He is 15-2. Kurt Holloway is 20-8. I've faded Kurt Holloway in the past, and it's cost me. He got kicked out of the UFC after his loss to Thiago Moises 5 years ago. Was on the regional scene, and then he had a fight against Austin Hubbard, who I actually don't mind. A lot of people hate Austin Hubbard. He choked him out. I was like, damn, that sucks. Krzyzewski, on the other hand, was on a little win streak here. Got his win by submission in the Contender Series over Dylan Montello, which I believe is one of Ray Longo's guys. Then he got KO'd by Elvis Brenner, which to me, and that was 8 months ago, no real shame in that one. Kurt Holloway lost the decision to Mr. Trey Ogden 3 months ago. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know about this fight. It's at lightweight. I'm going to always kind of go with the younger guy in a lightweight contest. But again, Kurt Holloway hasn't won in 10 years. That is not true at all. He just won 10 months ago.
It was 10 months, not 10 years.
But yeah. I mean, I don't think Kurt Holloway is like completely washed. I think he'll be in this fight. And again, I don't know really how this one's going to go. I think that Kurt Holloway is definitely a serviceable opponent. And I'm not really familiar with Krzyzewski or whatever the fuck is Kanan. Yeah. Give me the younger lightweight, and I'll pick him by decision. I don't know. I don't really know how that one's going to go.
Yeah. Once again, I agree with you, Idaho. We're really on the same wavelength right now. But then again, I don't think this card is that hard for picking certain fights. There aren't, in my opinion, there aren't a lot of toss-ups if you do your research. For me, I got Kanan Krzyzewski again by decision. Kurt Holloway calls himself the Hurt, as Idaho mentioned for his nickname. Well, he's going to be feeling a lot of that hurt once Kanan Krzyzewski crushes his spirit by chewing up his leg and making him pay for his failed takedown attempts. The reason I don't have faith in Kurt's wrestling or counter wrestling ability, like he showed against Austin Hubbard, is that he failed against Trey Ogden. He's getting up there at 37 years old, and he's looked sloppy technically in most of his UFC fights, including his tough fights. So it's almost miraculous he's in the UFC in the first place. Kanan's no spring chicken, as Idaho's. Dude, I'm telling you, we're the same fucking person. Either at 33, but he hasn't had many. Not. Is that a compliment or an insult?
It's an insult.
Okay, thank you. And has beaten some solid prospects in and out of the UFC, only losing to Brenner because of a well-timed overhand, and it's Elvis Brenner. I think he stuffs Kurt's grappling exchanges and technically picks him apart over 3 rounds, maybe getting a finish, but I'm thinking decision win. The Bahia is making Kurt sleep with the fishes because he's called the coastline. That's what Bahia means.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that translation. And I'm really upset that you said sleeping with the fishes and you didn't say it like this, sleeping with the fishes.
Hey, look at Kurt sleeps with the fishes. What a Moulignan, I tell you.
Oh,
what'd you call me? What'd you say about my mother?
Oh,
I said to you, hey, Gabagool, over here.
He says Hank's breakdowns are like spoken word. Yeah, it's because he's literally reading off of notes.
I'm speaking off of words, honestly.
Steve Garcia versus Sung Woo Choi up in this piece at featherweight. Steve Garcia, Mean Machine versus Sting, Sung Woo Choi. 15-5. He's on a pretty damn good run of KOs lately, man. I've been really impressed with this dude. Meanwhile, you got the 31-year-old Sung Woo Choi, who broke a 3-fight skid, getting a decision over Jarno Aarons, who I have no idea who that is. Saw the fight, watched the entire fight. Don't know who the guy is. I do know one thing, though, that Sung Woo Choi is down to slug. He's down to slug. Mm-hmm. I think that that's the wrong move here against Mr. Steve Garcia, who has been on a KO streak. I got him by knockout. I think he's going to accommodate Sung Woo Choi's request to brawl, and I think he'll meet him right in the middle of the cage, Max Holloway style, and I think he'll get it done. I got KO2, could be KO3, I think KO2, but could be KO1 as well. I think that this fight's going to end in knockout, which means in Apex probably end up fucking going to decision, but who knows? Let's see what my partner has here.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be KO2 Electric Boogaloo. I think I favor Steve Garcia a lot in this event. He's a lean, mean fighting machine, as his title suggests, and has put away a surprising amount of really good names in just his last 3 fights, finishing in the same round, round 2, Milk Costa, or as I like to call him, Michael Jackson Costa.
I like to call him Patchy Mix.
Yes, we all got our little pet names for old Milk, Harvey Milk, Noerden Beke, and most incredibly Chase Hooper, who has become a phenom since getting slept by Garcia. He has a lot of power and can come back from getting stumbled or knocked down by his opponents with grit and power. But I think the same cannot be said of Sung Woo Choi, who, despite being called Sting, has very little pop in his shots. And once he starts taking shots himself, Choi usually crumbles. A literally bizarro Steve Garcia. Despite having a reach disadvantage against his opponent, I think Steve Garcia still stings Sung Woo with his expert striking and crazy power, and eventually just starts laying into him against the cage until he falls, preferably in round 2. So,
yeah. Matua says, do y'all think Garcia can be a dark horse at featherweight? No, not at all. I think that his brawling style's going to get him caught, and it's not going to end well. I mean, his last loss was by TKO to Mahashate, of all people. Maybe that's why they put this Korean guy against him. They're like, hey, Asian guy got him last time.
Matua, if anyone's going to be a dark horse at featherweight, he's a certain fight nerd named Gene Silva. If they match him up with Steve Garcia, he's going to knock Steve Garcia the fuck out. So.
Yeah, exactly. But again, dark horse, no, but like perennial, like top 20, top 15 guy, possibly.
Yeah, solid gatekeeper.
Yeah, and that's going to start right here, getting this win over Sung Woo Choi, which again isn't like going to be like his best win, but I think it'll certainly produce a good highlight. And like I said, dude, Steve Garcia on a 3-fight knockout streak. How can you not root for this fucking guy?
He's fun to watch.
The next fight on the card is Tavares versus Young Park, but this one has been canceled. It's not happening, which sucks because I really like the Iron Turtle. I like his rise. I like everything that he's doing. He's got a fan base going. Radzhabov is a little washed. Sucks that for him that Iron Turtle had to pull out because I don't know how many fights he has left. He's definitely aging. So I imagine he'll get a quick turnaround. And my friend Euphoric Notes is very sad about this. We're all sad, man. This was kind of like the cornerstone of the card, to be honest with you. And everybody agrees with us on the Garcia fight, so that's what's up. I like that. Do you have any thoughts on this fight being canceled?
Yeah, I'm sad about it because I'm actually a big Iron Turtle fan as well. I really like his grappling. To me, he's sort of isn't he at middleweight too? I think he's at middleweight in the middleweight. Yeah, he's at middleweight. He reminds me of Anthony Hernandez a little bit. Obviously, he's not as quick as Anthony, as fluffy as he's called, but he definitely has great grappling and he locks in those submissions really quickly. And for that, he's a very fun fighter. Obviously, I'm actually more sad that he lost to Andre Muniz. That just fucking depressed me, and I had to listen to JL in the chat the whole time, just cream himself. So that wasn't very fun to experience.
No, did he?
I still feel, no Jones. I still feel like he has a lot of skill that he can show off. He is getting up there in age, so I do worry for him a little bit that he might end up getting feeling that Volkanovski effect, But I think he still has a few solid signature Iron Turtle wins in him. So I hope that he can come back in style and they give him not too hard an opponent to come back to.
I disagree with that. He's 33 at middleweight. He's got a long career.
Oh, never mind. He just looks old. Sorry. He's got the Volkanovski head. That's why I said the Volkanovski treatment.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, I hope that he can still have some fun performances. I like him.
Nate the Train. All right, man. Our next fight, begrudgingly, is the main event: Amanda Lemos versus Virna Jandiroba. I'm not going to shit all over Virna Jandiroba. I think that she is a pretty damn good fighter. Can't really seem to get over that hump. Losing that decision 2 years ago to Amanda Ribas. I think if she would have won that one, she probably would have gotten a title shot. Decisioning Angela Hill, decisioning Marina Rodriguez, which I definitely counted her out in that one. And if you remember, that fight was Marina Rodriguez was about to be the fight for the title. And then she took that fight with Virna, and no title shot for you, Mrs. Marina. And her last fight was a decision win against Lupita Godinez, which I think Lupita Godinez is a pretty damn good fighter. And that's kind of what tips me over the edge in picking her in this fight. On the flip side, you got Amanda Lemos. She is 14-3-1. She's looked really good in fights. Getting that submission win over Michelle Watterson, KOing Marina Rodriguez, who I think is a pretty good fighter. And then, if you remember 2 years ago, she got that standing arm triangle where Jessica Andrade just tapped her out immediately. Then she got the decision loss to Weili Zhang, where she got pretty much dominated. That last win to Mackenzie Dern, though, I think that Virna and Mackenzie Dern have really similar styles.
True.
So it's a tough pick for me. I think it goes to decision, possibly Splitty City, a rough town that we have to pass through from time to time.
Yeah. Well, then I have to pass through. It's the rough town for me. For you, it's fucking easy street. Go and collect $200.
Yeah, I mean, so we are 4-3-1 in our little friendly competition here. Hoping to get this going. Tallboy GQ says, "Why talk crap if you're promoting the fights? Reviews, have an opinion, not a 2 cents." All right,
yeah, you're a fucking moron, dude. You've been hating on us from the first.
And like I said, I'm not talking crap about either of these women, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Just showed up and thought that he owned the place. So
I mean, like I said, I'm not really hyped for this fight. I'm bummed that it's the main event, but again, like I think that these two women are actually some of the more exciting fighters at strawweight, which I think is actually a good point to hit on. Strawweight used to be the women's division. Like, to be fair, I mean, shit. Just a few years ago, you had that Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang fight of the year. I mean, by miles. And it's sort of fallen off. And I think that these two ladies being in the main event is sort of a testament to that. And I think, again, it ends in decision. 125, I think, is the better women's division at this point in our MMA timeline here. And see our good homies Sean and Notes clapping back at Mr. Tallboy GQ. He says, "I'm certainly talking crap on both women, but I'm not mad at this fight." Exactly. This is
you can make fun
not
of them,
the worst main event, and we've had much worse heavyweight main events. So. That'd be something to see here, but not much. What about you, Hank? What you got going on here?
Yeah, dude, we are of the same fucking mind for this card. Our only disagreement is the Hyder Amil versus Lee fight. So that's going to be the fight that decides, and that's cool. We're not going to get any even Stevens for this one. Although you might end up still winning just based off of getting the decisions over finishes. But for me, I got the same as you. Virna Jandiroba decision. Oh, Jesus Christ, what's happening? I think I've declared a world war. Oh boy,
like Wang and the other China chick. It'll be a decent scrap. Yeah, her name is what the fuck is her name?
Anyway, let's get on.
Yan Xiaonan. Yeah.
I got to moderate this shit. I got to keep the peace. Virna Jandiroba is a monster in there, dude, and not in terms of her fights. She just looks like a monster. Interesting factoid.
So fucked up.
Her nickname is Carcara, which is based on the name of a bird in South America, Carcara. And Jandiroba actually looks a lot like the bird in that she has a weird black mop top, and her eyes are located on entirely different sides of her head, like a bird. In all seriousness, though, Jandiroba has a very tricky grappling style, and that her timing with the takedowns is so hard to predict or counter that she usually completes takedowns on her opponents when they're coming in with big shots. And even when they're not, she still gets the takedowns. I hate that she out-grappled Lupita Godinez with relative ease. I fucking hate it. The Cyclops, but she was able to do it over 3 rounds, and you have to give her credit for that. She also had very close decision losses to both Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas. She could legit be undefeated in the UFC if a few more judges had the fights going her way. And that's a really scary thought, as is Virna Jandiroba. And it's disgusting that she could come all this way in the strawweight division with atrocious striking and wall-eyed vision. But that's what we're dealing with at this point. As much as Amanda Lemos is a man, I mean, it's in her name, right? Amanda. Her wonky, powerful striking won't matter all that much when she's on her back against this genetic freak who will get her down and wrestle fuck her over 5 whole rounds, 25 whole minutes. I can't wait to watch this one live. Lemos has decent submission ability, but her takedown defense is ass, as we saw in the Wei Lee fight. So it should be relatively easy for Hoes Have Eyes to get her down and dominate a majority of this fight. So give me Virna Jandiroba by a boring decision.
Well, there you go.
She will be the strawweight queen.
We got this bird up here.
Yes.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think. I mean, is this Virna Jandiroba? Have we found her in bird form? I think that's... I mean, that's probably why that's her nickname, to be totally fair.
Yeah. Well, this is her at the beach in Miami, and I think I see another one. She's on like vacation somewhere. No, that she's training to fight in that one. But yeah, good old Kara. She is going to be on top of the heap in the food cycle. And she's going to breed a whole generation of Virna Jandirobas that are going to take over every women's division in the UFC. It's going to be like Alex Pereira's kids. Oh, the fucking horror.
Yeah, I hope not. But you never really know. As Chuck Berry once said, "C'est la vie." So, guys, I really don't want to do this, but we kind of have to because it's probably going to be the biggest event of the weekend, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's going to do the most numbers, so we kind of have to cover it. It's going to be this man right here, Jake Paul. This is Platinum Mike Perry, everybody's favorite piece of shit human being who knocks guys out at bars. To be fair to Mike Perry, he's kind of turned his image around and really the narrative of his entire career by just becoming what he's been, the face of bare knuckle boxing. This is unfortunate. I mean, but it's better than what we were going to get, which was Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Is this still at Dallas Cowboys Stadium? Do you know? In Arlington, Texas?
Let me check.
They got a good skate park there in Arlington, Texas. Shout out to Arlington, Texas.
Amil Arena.
Oh, well.
Tampa, Florida. We're moist critical. That was
who would have thought? I mean, that's shocking that this fight is taking place in Florida.
Not really.
So I have Perry, but I see Paul winning. Yeah, exactly. Like Jake Paul's probably going to win this fight. It's promoted through him. It's him giving Mike Perry the opportunity. He says, "Have you seen the sparring footage of Perry and Paul from 3 years ago?" I have not. But either way, I think Jake Paul is okay. Hank, is Jake Paul a good boxer?
It's really hard. He's a good boxer against former MMA fighters.
So the way I frame it is he's the best celebrity boxer there is. That doesn't mean much. I mean, one of my heroes in life is now Tommy Fury after what he did.
Yes.
Paul. And I take back every bad thing I've ever said, which is a lot I've said bad about Tommy Fury.
I'm sure I've said worse.
So again, I got Jake Paul by decision. Gosh, can you imagine if he knocks Mike Perry out? Gosh,
that'd be really sad. Take that leather-faced chin away.
But in my heart, I want Mike Perry to get this guy out of there. I believe he's more of a dog, but I just unfortunately that doesn't matter in a boxing ring. It really just doesn't.
And also make Jake Paul unrecognizable, just cuts all over his face and flatline him so that he's too injured to compete in the Mike Tyson fight. So Mike gets to keep his legacy and doesn't have to compete in that trash.
Perry was looking big at the weigh-ins. Yeah, didn't he also struggle to make weight? Are you hip to that? I saw some shit where they had to bring out like the tent of shame.
Yeah. I'd be surprised since I think, well, actually, I'm not surprised. Mike Perry's only like a couple inches shorter than Jake Paul, so it's not like has to gain weight. I think for this one.
No. It was Jake Paul is the one who looked had a hard time making weight.
Well, that makes sense. He and Logan Paul are both cheaters. They're fucking steroid abusers.
The official stats on this one are 6'1" for Jake Paul with a 76-inch reach. 5'10" for Mike Perry with a 71-inch reach. I mean, I really wish this was in bare knuckle. I would pick Mike Perry all the way, but unfortunately, this is a replacement fight. So yeah, I mean, what's your pick for this one?
Well, first things first, I got a lock for people to.
On this card.
Yes. Not to put money on because it's a lock, but to pick.
Chuck Norris is fighting. Oh, never mind.
That's right. Yeah, he's packing heat for this one. He's gonna blow the brains out of Ariel Perez. But if he doesn't get KO'd first, now I got Ariel Perez by a round 2 KO. He's been getting a bunch of his fights done really early. Got him out of there. It's been nothing but finishes for Ariel Perez. And Dane Guerrero went to a split draw with a guy who was 1-5. So if that doesn't scream prestige, look out for this guy. I don't know what does. Now, I have had sort of a curse on my hands with these celebrity boxing events because I had a guy who was getting nothing but knockouts in the first round against a complete scrub who was losing to everybody. And he still somehow, the guy with all the knockouts, got knocked out by the guy who's never finished anyone. So you very well could see Chuck Norris pull this one off. I mean, he totally beat Bruce Lee, you guys. He wasn't punched out a window. He fucked up Bruce Lee. And he did everything else that the memes have said that he did. But I think that Ariel Perez is just going to knock this motherfucker out. Easy money. And then, whomp, dun, dun, dun. I got Jake Paul by decision. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could go with my heart, but I've had too many heart attacks, so I can't really rely on my heart to get me through this one. I hate my heart, I'll be honest. Jake Paul, he's bigger than him, and he's just more adjusted to boxing. He just knows what to do with bigger gloves. He knows how to control the ring. It's a entirely different ring in bare knuckle boxing. And you could train Mike Perry all you want, but how long's he been training? Like a month for this? I have no idea. It's definitely less than a year, and so he's just not going to be adjusted to that boxing ring. And even the fighters, MMA fighters that are the most prepared for boxing fights, still lose in embarrassing fashion. So, as much as I'd like a miracle to occur, I don't think he's going to pull an Ngannou, even though he is an African king alongside his brother Francis Ngannou. I just think that Mike Perry, he might pull a Nate Diaz and try to get himself intentionally DQ'd to save face. I think that's his only way out from this without looking bad. But
I mean, to be fair, that was more Dylan Dennis than anybody else.
Yeah. Well, either of those fucking schmucks. But I just hope that Mike Perry somehow finds a way to get out of this fight without getting knocked out. That's all I'm hoping for. Another fucking circus. Fuck Jake Paul. Hope he kisses a truck.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't. I mean, who really cares? At the end of the day, a lot of people are going to care because, like I said, this is going to be the fight that does the most numbers in all of combat sports. But yeah, I mean, fuck. Shit. That's all I can say. I mean, it sucks that another guy from MMA has to go fight fucking Jake Paul.
And then I have to watch this shit for my fight companion I got on Saturday, Hank the Tank, dealing with Jandiroba and Jake Paul all at the same time. What a lovely experience.
I mean, so you got Nakatani versus Astrolabio, OKTAGON, KSW, Cage Warriors, UFC, and then Paul versus Perry. So there is a lot to pick and choose from this weekend. But yeah, unfortunately, this UFC card at the apex of all places, and Perry versus Paul is really the top things this weekend. And don't forget, there is going to be a glory card. That should be damn good as well.
Hopefully we get some shoulder breaks.
Any final thoughts on this weekend?
The good thing about these main events is that two of them at least I care about one of the competitors getting fucking flatlined. So at least I can anticipate one of them losing. Especially Virna Jandiroba. I think Virna Jandiroba has the highest chance of losing her fight, especially since Amanda Lemos has ungodly power in her face.
Yeah, and like I said, sometimes she looks great. Other times it's like, what?
Yeah, she could get a knockout or even win a decision. She was able to against Mackenzie Dern, who got her down in the third round, but only after she pretty much did very well for the first two. So there's a good chance, but I'm a pessimist with the UFC, and usually it doesn't give me what I want. So and also if I go against what I want, usually what I want ends up happening. So I'm making sure to go oogie boogie and curse the card and make sure that I'm happy at the end of the day. Maybe I should pick Bilal and then he'll lose.
Hey, who knows? Yeah, again, it's a good weekend for regional MMA, but not so much for high level things going on. But yeah, that glory card should be the card of the weekend. There was one Friday fights this morning. I was not able to watch it, but got work. So yeah, kickboxing is always good shit. So I think that's the show. I got nothing else to say. We got lots of shows coming for you. Catch Hank the Tank's fight companion tomorrow. He'll be going live for you folks, getting it done. Debating on doing a post show. Depends on how good or bad the fights will be, but there'll probably be a post show over here. And yeah, man, be be on the lookout for all the content. We're ramping up the content lately, and we got you guys a lot of shows. By the way, what's up, Kobe? Good to see you, my friend.
Oh, I also want to mention, after I do my fight companion for Saturday, we might just get a little bit of a bonus segment from my man, Idaho Skatesman, who's going to do a little bit of his postcard breakdown and first reactions. So
that's what I literally just said that. I don't know if you heard me.
Shit. Well, you're going to see both the tank and the skate on Saturday. So look forward to it, folks. You filthy animals. You filthy animals, listen to us on Saturday, you guys.
Well, right. I think that's it, man. I think that's it. We're out of here.
You have escaped the war zone. For now. Content. Ah! Virna Jandiroba!